The president announced historic relief to protect the hard-earned pensions of hundreds of thousands of union workers and retirees thanks to the American Rescue Plan.
Fox Business had a report today that Bank of America CEO Brian Moynihan is on a short list to replace Janet Yellen if and when she decides to leave the administration. Wondering if you could comment on that at all.
So, as Secretary Yellen said herself just last month, she has no plans to leave. It seems to be that report to us seems to be pure speculation.
We saw the producer price index come down a bit, but it's still above 7%. The Federal Reserve Chairman says that core inflation may be moving sideways. We get a CPI inflation reading again next week. So if Americans don't see significant progress on inflation, does that mean the Inflation Reduction Act early next year hasn't worked?
Well, okay, let's step back for a second.
You had said the inflation, before the midterms, you told me that the Inflation Reduction Act should bring down inflation early next year. So if it doesn't do that significantly, is that seen as then a failure?
First of all, that's a bunch of hypotheticals that you're asking me. You're bringing up a hypothetical. What I said was, again, what was the analysis that was done by economists. That matters. Look, the Inflation Reduction Act was a piece of legislation that was signed by the president that was only passed by Democrats. And what you saw from Republican officials over the past several months is how they wanted to get rid of it.
Amidst protests in China against the CCP, and after Apple changed its AirDrop feature for Chinese iPhone users, why was Tim Cook seated at the head table during the last state dinner here at the White House?
I don't have any specifics on who was invited, why they were invited. Don't have that to share with you. As you know, Tim Cook was also in Phoenix, Arizona, when the president was talking about the Chips and Science Act, made a very important...
Tim Cook of Apple, where are you, Tim? He buys a few of these little chips. And he's a small customer here at this outfit, between 25 and 35% of their... But anyway, I hope they're treating you well.
Did the president get a heads up from Senator Sinema in advance of her announcement this morning that she would re-register as a Democrat?
So I will say this, as always, we do not discuss private conversations that we have with members of Congress. Don't have anything else to share outside of that, but we are just not going to share any private conversations that we have with Congress.
Can you talk about the president's reaction? Was he surprised?
Well, I put out a statement, and that, as you know, I speak for the President of the United States. So he sees and we see Senator Sinema as a key partner on some of the most historic pieces of legislation that you all have covered in this administration. When you look at the past 20 months, from the American Rescue Plan to the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law to the Inflation Reduction Act. And so, look, we understand her decision to register as an independent in Arizona. The way we see it and understand it, it does not change the new Democratic majority control of the Senate.